Okay, so as I was saying, since we know that this is the definition, what do we want to do with it? We want to draw a wavy line only under the words that are actually the definition. Okay. And by the way, if you see a sentence that has a definition and it begins with like to, a, the, refers to, um, when, you're going to include those kinds of words that might be at the beginning. This one is the process. We don't want to just say process of receiving. It sounds kind of weird. We want to have that article. So it's the process because there could be many processes. And it's saying it's the process, a particular process. So we put a wavy line under all of the definition, but only the definition. Notice how the sentence with the definition begins over here, right? But when we're marking up a paragraph to show the analysis that we're doing and applying the lesson of a concept, we are trying to reduce, we are trying to figure out what exactly in the paragraph or in a given sentence is actually the thing that we're looking for. So that's the cognitive skill of isolation as we are applying concepts. So a lot of high level critical thinking stuff going on here. All right, so now this does say this means, and that often is used to introduce a definition. But in this case, we use our college level reading skills and our critical thinking skills in general. We know that we already have the sign. We know that we already have the definition. And now we have to write, oh, I almost forgot. We have to write the word what? Definition above this. Okay. So again, using our college level reading skills, we know that they're not really telling us the meaning by definition. They're going to tell us an example. In the example, of course, we circle it. Any college student working through this very concept analysis is a correct example of what it means to get an education. Okay, so really, I've circled too much. Again, we want to isolate what really is and only that which is that part of the concept that we're looking for. Here, obviously, they're giving an example, right? Because they said, is a correct example of what it means to get an education. Okay, so this is this is information in the sentence that's just kind of giving us context saying, hey, this is a correct example for the definition given. So really, we should only circle any college student working through this very concept analysis. So the circle should have stopped there. This was a mistake. So remember what I said about not erasing your mistakes? I'm not telling you, I don't want you to take from this that you're supposed to have a line with X's in it. I'm just going to leave my mistake in there. And what you guys could even do is you could write down like what your mistake was. So let's say you circled all of this thinking that all of that should be written up for the example part of the diagram. You could put that I included information that is not the actual example itself for the concept, right? So I want you to, at some point, pause this video and look at how much of the sentence with the definition we have a wavy underline. Look at how much of the sentence with the example we actually circled. And I should probably finish. It's kind of hard to do that as a circle, so it's okay if it's in two circles like this, okay? So again, it's that skill of analysis of breaking something down into its constituent parts, isolating parts to better understand their isolation. And now what are we going to do? We are going to extract the parts of the concept that is of primary concern to visually present it in a diagram. So now we're going to do that higher level thinking of creation in creating that diagram. So of course we're going to do our triangle. It's always better to do a somewhat skinny triangle because if your triangle's too fat or short, I should say that you want somewhat tall triangles, as tall as possible. If they're too short, you're going to end up with your definition, or some students end up with the definition in the examples. And remember, where the information is in the concept triangle is part of the answer because the space around the triangle has meaning. So what do we put right here, or what should you have put? You should have put the sign, right? And then what word did we say was the sign? Education. So remember, we put that in quotation marks because we're saying we're talking about the word, we're not using the word. Now, where should we have written the definition? Okay, here. So if you already wrote the definition here and you wrote too much or too little, you need to fix that. Remember, we are copying all of a given definition, only the definition. We are not paraphrasing, we're not changing the order of the words, and we are not cutting off any words. I recommend that when you're doing concept diagrams and you've got the definition examples part, just write all the way to the edge of the paper when possible so that you don't run into, for example, the definition part, you don't run into the problem of going into the example space. And for this part too, in case you run out of example space, and it has to get all weird, just write all the way to the edge and then start a new line. Okay. If you labeled this definition, you need to cross it out. Don't erase it. Cross it out and say, I forgot. You could add a note and say, I forgot that I'm not supposed to label the parts of a concept when I am doing this kind of task. Okay, and then of course we're going to do the example. So for the example, some students might just say college student working through, but that sounds kind of odd. So we want to say, because it's not just college student, the college student, some college students, this college student. No, it says any college student. So that word is not insignificant. Now, guys, what did I forget to do up here? What did I forget to do? I didn't write the word example above the example. So technically you could do it here or you could do it here. I'm just going to write it like this because, like I said, I didn't give you enough room in these examples, i.e. to analyze, but you can see that I've kind of written it right there, right? So when I give this to you to do as a grade, you will have enough space to write the labels. But right here I have the word sign, right here I have the word definition, and then right here I have the word example. Okay, so let's do a quick check to make sure that this is correct, that you did this correctly. Make sure that you didn't that you didn't write the word sign here. You should not have the word definition here, and you should not have the word example here. If you did, cross them out and write a note about the mistake. Secondly, make sure that your definition does not go past the halfway point, right? Because this is the definition area. For your example, make sure that it's really oriented this way, right? It shouldn't be way up here, halfway up here. It needs to be at this angle right here. Same thing with the sign. Make sure it's not up here. Make sure it's not underneath. Make sure it doesn't start here and end here in the example space. Remember, the space has meaning.